Hey, what's up, Slunts Joker here. Today we're going to be taking a look at Far Cry 4. Now, I've been a big fan of the franchise ever since back when I first played Far Cry 2, even with the whole malaria infection and that, and continued on to Far Cry 3. Really enjoyed that game. Some fans of the series might not have enjoyed the fact that they went into the whole Assassin's Creed Ubisoft mold that they now have in almost every title. We saw it with Watch Dogs, with the familiar elements of climbing the towers to unlock areas and stuff like that. And it was in Far Cry 3, and now it's in Far Cry 4. Some people are getting a little bit tired of those elements, and that's totally understandable and justifiable. I myself have gotten tired of it to some extent. But hopefully the gameplay and the story within Far Cry 4 is enough to sort of distract you from those padded out elements that we've seen in all the Ubisoft titles now. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now, as with any of my reviews on the PC, first we're going to go ahead and take a look at the graphics options. Alright, so here we are in the options menu. Before we go ahead and get into the graphics options, let's go ahead and take a look at the keyboard and mouse options, because they're actually pretty decent in this game. As you can see, you can disable mouse acceleration and things like that, but unfortunately there are some issues with the mouse, and I'll get into that after we're done going over the options. But come down here to the customized controls here. As you can see, you can remap all your keys, which is really nice. And if you look on the left side, there's something really nice that I have not really seen too often in games before, is they actually show you the full keyboard layout and the keys that you've already mapped, so you know which keys you haven't mapped at all yet. And that's a really nice feature. I'd love to see a lot more games doing that. Definitely sign of a good PC port right there. If you come over to interface here, another good sign of a PC port. I mean, you can literally add and remove any parts of the interface that you want. Absolutely amazing feature. I love this level of customization, especially on the PC. I think it's absolutely essential, and more games need to be doing this type of thing. Coming over to the video options, as you can see here, running at 144 Hz, VSync off, and graphics quality is on custom, and I'll get into why that is in a moment. Before we go into the actual graphics quality settings, we go to advanced. As you can see, you just have basic FOV slider, which is nice that they have it, but I'd prefer a number here, to be honest. I don't know what this slider means. I have no idea what that bar means at all. Give me a number. I'd like to be able to set it to 90. I know from other games that I like 90, and I'd like to use 90. I don't know what this is at the minute, but I guess it's okay. But they should have a number there, to be honest. Coming up to quality settings, you can see here, quite extensive, which is very nice to see. Motion blur is actually on. I don't know why that is. Let's go ahead and turn that off, because I absolutely despise motion blur. Textures, you can see running at ultra. Soft shadows on this. That is the PCSS NVIDIA specific shadows. Post effects on ultra. I'd like to see this kind of more detailed out. I don't know what post effects is. It'd be nice to see that. Geometry, vegetation, terrain, water, environment, ambient occlusion, which I have off at the moment for some reason. I was trying to actually fix the issue with the shadows, and I'll explain that in the full review. But there is an issue with the shadows specifically at nighttime, and I was trying to fix that, so I had that off briefly. In anti-aliasing, I'm running on SMAA. The reason is the TXAA seems to be really taxing on the system, and I'm seeing frame drops below 60 at times. Running with SMAA on it looks really good, and I stay up around 70 or 80 frames. God Ray is another NVIDIA technology. It's just basically their own light shafts, and this is more NVIDIA stuff all down here. The fur quality for the NVIDIA Hairworks, and then trees relief, which I looked up online, is actually the tessellation on the tree trunk. So if you're looking at the bark on the tree, it'll be a lot more detailed as almost like a 3D image. A little bit more detail there for the textures on the trees themselves. So as you can see there's a lot of graphics options in Far Cry 4, which is usually indicative of a good PC port. There are a few issues here and there. Some issues with the night shadows in particular, which is still yet to be patched, although there is word that there is a patch in the works, so hopefully we'll get one of those pretty soon. Another issue which I came across is sometimes when you go into the map and then come out of the map, it'll look like there's almost like two images, one laid on top of the other when you're trying to walk around. It's very distracting, and as far as I can tell, the only way to get rid of it is to quit out back to the main menu and then load back into the game, and make sure you don't open the map, because if you do, it's just going to come back again. So it's really kind of game breaking, and you can't get that far into it without this issue popping up. So hopefully they will get these kinds of things ironed out very soon, because it's a shame, because it is a decent title otherwise, and we'll get into all of that in a moment. Now, obviously, the graphics in Far Cry 4 are absolutely gorgeous, which is, nothing new to the series. It was a real benchmark for PCs back in Far Cry 1. Far Cry 2 looked great. Far Cry 3 even better, and now they're continuing along that tradition in Far Cry 4. They sort of have a very similar art style and look and feel to what Far Cry 3 was, but they've definitely built upon it. They've improved the foliage, they've improved the water quality, texture quality. Pretty much everything has gotten an overhaul in the reworked Dunya engine, and it all just looks absolutely fantastic, especially with the NVIDIA technologies like TXAA and the Furworks and all that stuff. It's just all hitting on all cylinders. Game looks absolutely beautiful, and it's running pretty well for me on my two 780s. Most of the time running around, I'm seeing anywhere from 80 to 100 FPS, but sometimes there are dips down to like 60 and even 55, and it's hard to really put my finger on what's actually causing, because I've tried moving around options here and there, and it doesn't really seem to be helping out the frame rate all that much. The game is very taxing, so let's, put that right out there. If you're running a very low spec system, you're going to have to lower down some graphics options, because, the game is beautiful, so the performance it's requiring is absolutely justified. And hopefully, with maybe another driver coming out in the future, maybe some game patches, we will see this performance improving over time. But, right now it's performing pretty solid, for a brand new release, despite, the fact that the few visual glitches and bugs that it is having, and I have no doubt those will be fixed pretty soon. Now, if you played Far Cry 3, you're not going to really be too surprised with any of the gameplay elements in Far Cry 4. They're all pretty straightforward, very, very similar to what we had in that game. The wingsuit is back. You can use the paragliders again. The parachute is there. And one new element is the grapple hook, which is actually really, really great. It's a good way of getting around and accessing areas that normally you wouldn't probably be able to get to, and being that you're in the Himalayas, in the mountains, it really does make sense to be able to scale a lot of these sheer cliffs and things like that. I highly doubt anyone would be out in the Himalayas without any of this type of gear. So, the grapple hook is really good. I enjoy that element, and besides that, it's still, very similar to what Far Cry 3 was, I was saying, with the towers. And you go out and there's lots of chests and side content you can do, and it, fills out the length of the game very, very much. You're looking at a very lengthy game here if you're doing all the side stuff as well. One thing I want to note as part of the gameplay and control issues with this game is there is really, really bad mouse issues. Some people are saying it's acceleration or mouse lag. There are config tweaks that you can do to improve this, and it seems to improve it on as far as when you're aiming with weapons and aiming down the sight specifically, but just walking around and looking around the world, it still feels like it's very much there, even after the patch is on version 1.3 now, and with the mouse fixes in the config, it still feels really, really rough, and I don't know why it's there. I really hope that they fix it, because when you first load up the game, it feels absolutely terrible until you've gone and put on the config tweaks, which makes it so you can put up with it basically if you do the config tweaks, but without it, it's absolutely awful. And I recommend anyone playing this game on PC, if you're not using a controller, you should definitely be doing these mouse fixes in the config. And I will put a link down in the description below to PC Gaming Wiki, where they have all of the fixes for this game for any issues that you might run into. Great website, by the way, resource for PC gamers if you ever have any issues or bugs or anything like that. They pretty much have everything there you could need for any game you could think of. As far as the story in Far Cry 4 is concerned, you are playing basically a son of a woman who has passed away, and you're going back to your home village, basically, in the Himalayas, in Karat, to bring her ashes there and scatter them around your sister's grave, Lakshana. And there you meet Pagan Min, who's not such a very nice guy. And he's sort of like the Voss of this game. If you remember Voss from Far Cry 3, he's very much like him. Also reminds me of Joker in a way. Joker from Dark Knight, specifically in the way he talks and his mannerisms and things like that. It really does remind me of Joker. If you're playing this game for the first time, especially in those opening cutscenes where he's talking to you, keep an eye on that and try to think of Joker in the Dark Knight, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Even right down to the suit. He's not wearing a purple suit, but he's wearing a pink suit. And it really, really does remind me of Joker. But the story is all top-notch, as with the Far Cry series. It's pretty typical. I'm really enjoying the main protagonist a lot more than I did with Jason Brody in Far Cry 3. I think he's a little bit more likable. I didn't really care for Jason Brody in Far Cry 3, so it's nice to see that. And I think it has a stronger story than Far Cry 3 as well. I think it makes a lot more sense, and you know, it feels more realistic, I guess you could say. Now, if you watch a lot of my reviews, you might have seen me in the past. I usually give a number score at the end of my reviews, but I'm not going to do that this time, and I've decided I'm not going to do it anymore in the future. Personally, I never really liked giving a numbered score to a game, and I don't know why I started doing it, and I'm going to try to get away from that and just try to give you my opinion on based on whether you should buy it now, whether you should not buy it and not play it at all, or whether you should wait for a sale maybe. And with Far Cry 4, I'm going to have to say that it is definitely worth your time to play it. It's a great, solid, single player. The gameplay is good, but there are a few bugs, like I was saying. So you might want to wait until those have gotten patched up and, you know, the game is in full 100% working order. I would say right now it's at about 90 to 95%. And once it gets to 100%, I would give it my full approval. So maybe you want to wait for that. Maybe you want to wait a little while for a sale. You know, that's going to be up to you as to whether how much you really want to play Far Cry 4. But it is a solid title. It's a solid game. It's a hell of a lot better than Assassin's Creed Unity. There's no mistaking that. It's definitely better than that. And you know, all these issues are fixable. So I think at the end of the day, we're going to have a very good title. Probably within a week or two, hopefully these things will all be fixed, and you know, I can give my full blessing to the game. But right now, I would say wait a little bit, and if you can't, then go ahead and pick it up and wait for the patches, just like I'm doing. But you know, thank you guys for watching. I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, stick a like on it below. Don't forget, you can always follow me on Facebook and Twitter at JokerSlunt, or get back to my channel anytime by going to jokerslunt.com. I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra!